Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into something pretty huge, a bold experiment in social policy. We're going to look at how one of India's biggest states is making this massive bet on its future, and it's all about investing in its youngest generation.
Okay, let's kick things off with a number that just sets the scene. 4.98 crore. Now that translates to almost 50 million children, all in the Indian state of Bihar. To put that into perspective for you, that's more than the entire population of Spain. We're talking about 11% of all children in India right there.
And this number, this is where things get really interesting. 17.5%. So, what is that? That's the average annual growth rate of Bihar's spending on those kids every year since 2017. I mean, that is a huge, sustained increase. It's not just a blip. It points to a real, fundamental shift in their policy.
So, you've got to ask, right? With all this money being poured in, what does this investment actually look like on the ground? And maybe even more important, is it actually paying off? Okay, let's dive in and unpack Bihar's really ambitious strategy. All right, let's get into the nuts and bolts here. To really get what's going on in Bihar, you first have to appreciate the sheer scale of the financial commitment we're talking about. It's a lot. Just take a look at this chart. It tells a pretty clear story, doesn't it? The state's total spending on kids has just climbed and climbed year after year. This isn't some one-off funding boost. No, this is a really clear signal that this is a major long-term policy priority for them. And, when you break that down to what it means per child, the numbers are even more striking. The spending for each kid has gone up 2.7 times. That's a massive jump in the resources available for each and every single child in the state. Pretty incredible.
So you might be wondering, how are they managing all this? Well, the key is something called child budgeting. Bihar has actually been doing this since way back in 2013. You can think of it as a special lens on the budget, a way to make sure that kids' needs are always front and center when the state is figuring out its finances.
Okay, so we've established there's a lot of money being spent. But where is it all actually going? Let's follow the money, shall we? We'll trace it from the budget spreadsheets all the way down to the real-world programs they're supposed to be making a difference.
And wow, Bihar's strategy is super comprehensive. I mean, it covers everything: health, protection, participation, empowerment, the whole shebang. But for today, we're going to zoom in on the two biggest pillars, the ones that get the most attention and, frankly, the most funding: nutrition and education.
Right at the heart of this whole strategy, you'll find what are called Anganwadi centers. Think of them as community hubs, They're really the front lines, the delivery point for so many of the state's most crucial programs for kids.
And yeah, the state is definitely putting its money where its mouth is. The budget just for these Anganwadi services, it's been growing by over 9% every year. That's another one of those signs that tells you this is a real long-term priority.
Okay. Let's zoom in on one of the most fundamental pieces of this puzzle: nutrition. I mean, this is a massive, complex challenge, and Bihar is really trying to tackle it from a bunch of different angles. This is so cool. This table here gives you a real, tangible look at what all those budget numbers actually mean for a kid in Bihar. This isn't abstract. This is the actual weekly meal plan at one of those Anganwadi centers. It's designed to make sure kids are getting consistent, balanced meals.
And this map? Wow. This map shows you exactly why these nutrition programs are so incredibly important. It's showing the prevalence of anemia in young kids, and you just see all that red and orange. It makes it crystal clear that this is a huge, widespread problem. We're talking about it affecting nearly 70% of children in this age group. That's a staggering number.
So, how do you even begin to fight something like that?
Well, Bihar is using a multi-pronged attack, if you will. It's this combination of big national awareness campaigns, direct cash benefits from others, and those supplementary nutrition programs we were just talking about.
Okay, so a healthy start in life is absolutely crucial, but it's only one part of the equation. So let's shift gears and look at how Bihar is investing in that other key pillar of its strategy: education, and, just as importantly, creating safe places for kids to learn.
Now this is really interesting because you've got this fascinating contrast right here. On one hand, you see clear progress. Look at the chart on the left. They've made huge strides in improving school infrastructure, like a big increase in working toilets. But then you look at the table on the right, and it tells a tougher story. Thousands and thousands of kids are still not even in school.
So the question is, how do you close that gap?
Well, Bihar is trying with these really targeted programs. The goal is to remove the practical, real-world barriers that stop kids, especially girls, from going to school. We're talking about things like providing money for a bicycle so she can physically get to class, and money for a uniform so she has what she needs when she's there.
And it's not just about cramming kids into classrooms. The focus is much broader. It's on their overall well-being. This covers everything from safe Saturday disaster drills to a truly massive initiative to build a playground in every single one of the state's over 8,000 local village councils. Every single one.
All right, so we've seen the massive investment, we've seen the programs on the ground, but what about the payoff? What are the actual results? Let's dig into the data and see what kind of impact this whole strategy is really having.
And the data shows some really clear, measurable progress. I mean, Bihar has made some pretty big strides, especially in key areas like health and sanitation. Get this, on 9 out of 28 key child-related metrics, Bihar is actually performing above the national average now. That's a huge deal.
But it's not a simple success story. The picture gets more complicated. When you look at other really critical indicators, like the sex ratio at birth, you see that progress can be fragile. It was improving for years, but now it's actually started to decline again. It's just a powerful reminder that some of the biggest challenges are so deeply rooted in society that money alone can't fix them.
This quote here really sums it all up perfectly. Bihar has absolutely built a solid framework, a real foundation for change. But the real test, the big question, is whether the state can keep this momentum going and really tackle those more complex, stubborn challenges that are still out there.
And that leaves us with the central question, doesn't it? Bihar has made this absolutely massive bet on its 50 million children. Is it going to pay off and become its greatest asset? The answer is going to shape the future of an entire generation there. But it could also become a blueprint for other places facing similar struggles. You can be sure the story is far from over, and a lot of people are watching to see what happens next.